I'll try and encourage you to persevere with these experimental videos. Some of them to get quite difficult, but the experimental evidence is the way you can outsmart AI because AI can't do experiments and can't analyze them. It's just not physically capable of doing an experiment. In a lot of cases, it'll even make you smarter than your teachers as well. Just do a check because I've never had a teacher give the correct answer. Ask them how do they know what the correct sample size number is. And I've asked a lot of teachers and a lot of biology teachers because it's big for bio as well, or mainly for bio. And in this video, I'll show you how to do a moving average, which helps you to determine how many trials you should take. Okay. And that's useful for year 11 and 12 bio. So you will get a lot smarter if you can persevere because this one is actually quite a difficult one. And so what I have sitting here, and I've had this two stones sitting there for decades, and I must be having a good holiday because I've got the time to laze around and do this video. Um, I've never actually known what what it is, whether it's sandstone, siltstone, shale, whatever. And so now I've just sat down and just worked it out. And so that's what this video is. So the one on the left has larger grains, and so that's siltstone, and the red one's shale. Just to let you know the answers. Um, and so these two rocks are really common on the beaches of Redcliffe. So I grew up in Redcliffe, and these things were everywhere. So I don't know how long I've had these two rocks for, but quite a long time. All right, um, decades probably. So what's actually quite helpful for this experiment is just a clue here. So we don't have many um, qualified geology teachers because even if you wash dishes or do the laundry, you get paid double what a teacher gets paid. So the mining companies steal all the earth science teachers pretty quick. Um, but we did have one for a year or two. All right. And so I tried to pick his brain as much as possible. There's this one rock that I picked up from somewhere, I don't know where. And it's got these three-dimensional cross-linking quartz lines. Um, and if you can have a look at this macroscopic and microscopic pictures here, you can see that the quartz lines are there. And you can see the grains, uh, they look a little bit messy maybe. Um, and so this is a proper description from a geologist who's was working in the mines and is back out in the mines. So doing this every day. Um, so this is the clue without breaking your rock for a fresh surface. Okay, so that's what I did. I thought, oh, that's the clue. I need to break it open for a fresh surface. But I still think it's worth reading the rest. This appears to be a highly weathered meta-sedimentary rock. Um, so this one's not even clearly sedimentary or metamorphic. It's somewhere in between. The parent rock presumably quartzose, fair enough, because of the quartz things and quartz veins, and a lithic feldspar arenite sandstone, perhaps with moderate alteration of feldspars, etc., to kaolinite. Now, kaolinite is one of the clay minerals. So the feldspars get weathered and turned into a slightly different chemical structure and they're the clay minerals. They're basically just the feldspars have been weathered. So that's useful to know as well. Um, there's a few other names for a few other feldspars. It turns in a few other different types of clays. Um, and the metamorphosis events have allowed penetration of silica-rich fluids as overprinting cross-cutting quartz veins. This would be over an extended time, allowing for veins to open up in the middle orientations. So that really clearly explains everything. Quite nice that definition, but that's way too hard. But um, it's good asking some hard questions and getting some clear answers because that helped me with this. So as you can see for this red one here, um, and for both actually, it looks completely amorphous on the surface, um, and so there is no class, and it doesn't look to be sedimentary. It even looks a little bit like hematite. But if you can see, so what I do is actually break the rock and break it open to see how different it is inside. And when you open it up, so you can see it broken in there. Now you can see all the different pieces and the crystals, and it looks, because the outside is weathered, it looks very amorphous. Whereas the rock itself is actually not. It does have little pieces, clasts, little bits and pieces of crystals and fragments. So that's clearly sedimentary, and it is porous as well. Um, but breaking it open is the big thing here. Now, it also looks like hematite, and they both do look like reddish on the outside, and you can see that hematite uh, looks very amorphous on the outside. On the inside, it looks very crystally and it's not porous. So that was helpful. Um, and while I'm at it, I think I'll still talk about the white one as well. You can see here, it looks very amorphous, right? Doesn't look like there's anything there. In some parts, you can see perhaps particles, but certainly other parts can't tell at all. And then when you break it open, it's super, super clear. You can clearly see all little bits and particles and crystals everywhere. The ones when it hasn't been weathered on the outside. And so that was quite useful to properly classify this as sedimentary igneous or metamorphic quite clearly. When you break it open, you can see that it's quite sedimentary there. And so that was cool. All right. And so the fact is, I still don't know the sizes. And the problem with these clays and silts is they're so tiny. So I have to use a microscope. So what I did was, um, let's do the red one first. This is a by 100 lens, so it's with the eyepiece by 10, that's by 1000. So this is quite easy because then you can just count up the increments and it's whatever factor. So there's two increments there, so 13 should be 0.0002 millimeters. Um, and so this is one of three pictures I've taken. Now, I'm not including these things because there's clearly like little pieces here and a big piece here. These are clusters. So I'm trying to get some clear um, sections. So these numbers here, 17, 12, 13, 16, 14, are what I can figure out are just one single and not a group of sediments. And so what I do here then is if I go to Excel, I've numbered them out here on this side here. And what you'll find is that at first the average of one is just the same, but the average of these two numbers is zero point 0.3, and then the average of these three numbers is this. And so it's a cumulative moving average. And so what you'll find is when this average starts to level out, that's the correct sample size. So you can see here it jumps quite a bit, and then it still jumps up and down, but it's sort of leveled out. Um, Really maybe at around 12. So the correct sample size for that reason should be 12. And then because at about by 12, you're getting this answer of 1.18 or 0.19. And so that's the answer. It's slightly under 0.02 millimeters. Um, and so that's how you know the sample size, and that's how I can be confident that's the correct size that I can list the grains as being. Now, United States Department of Agriculture, I think it is, and this one have slightly different definitions for silt and clay. Certainly, different countries have completely um, different categories, but even within the USA, there's different categories. But in both cases, it matches, so that's convenient. So the red one is definitely shale then. Okay, could have been confused with hematite. Um, so very difficult, yeah. I think breaking it open and doing the microscope analysis is better. So moving on to the white one now. So in this case, they looked to be rather round and clear segments. And so this one here now, these are quite large. So immediately I could tell maybe it might not be in the same category as the red. Maybe it's too big. This is the by 10. So each one's 0.01 millimeters. So I just count that up. So that one's about 5. And so if you go to the Excel file, you can see 10, I just said was 0.05. And you can see this one, it jumps up quite up and down a little bit and still jumping up still a little bit. So possibly I would need to take maybe as many as 20 samples for this one because there is quite a lot of fluctuation. Um, 20 is probably going to be fine. It would be nice to take another 5 samples, but I did stop there. You can see from these numbers that it is fairly consistent in that staying less than point. It is definitely staying between like zero point zero 0.04 and 0.03. Um, and so it's really started to settle out at 0.035, and that's in millimeters. So 0.035 millimeters puts it exactly in the silt for the US standard. And for this one here, 0.0035 also puts us clearly in this category too, even though they have slightly different ranges here. So in this case, it's definitely larger and large enough to put it clearly in the siltstone category. So now finally, I can say without a doubt, the white one's siltstone, the red one's shale. Okay, and that's how you determine the correct sample size for a particular experiment. It's the cumulative moving average. All right, too hard to do and takes too much time. So that's why experimental videos are quite useful. Okay, I hope you enjoyed.